in this lecture, we will build on whatever we did about the density matrix and talk about relaxation rate and how to include, for example, broadening in the level broadening or relaxation of the density matrix within this formalism. That is number one. And secondly, we will do perturbation solution of the density matrix using its equation of motion that we derived in the last class. Okay, so we already discussed this a bit. So in the last class, we defined the density matrix, which was sum over all states of the interacting system, probability of the interacting system being in that state S times the probability amplitude of the state S being in the M or the N states, basically. So the product of the probability amplitudes, etc. And using this definition of the density matrix, we derived its equation of motion. So rho nm dot is given by minus I by h rho nm, etc. And I emphasize that here h is also in the basis of nm and rho is also written in the basis of nm and so on, etc. And we specifically discussed that is a matrix product. So commutator in the sense of matrix product minus, so h rho minus rho h, and out of that product plus the difference, etc., the nth element of that resulting matrix. Okay, and this is the evolution of the density matrix with time, including the interactions, basically. Okay, okay. So this we explicitly did in the class last time, etc. Okay, but as I already mentioned, there are several other types of interactions which cannot be included in H. Okay. So, for example, if we consider our example of light matter interaction happening in a sort of a vapor of atoms, let's say, then light matter interaction is included in the Hamiltonian, but atomic collisions are not included in the Hamiltonian, right? So whatever Hamiltonian we solved for one photon absorption, etc., they are not included in H. No. Then coupling to the environment is not included in H. No. So I have this box, etc. So the box may have some vibrational degrees of freedom, etc., which are not, which may be influencing the vapor, but they are not explicitly included in this Hamiltonian. And what do these interactions do, which are not included in the Hamiltonian, etc.? They will lead to change in the PS, no, probability of finding the state S, etc. So they change this PS with the time, or the assumption that we made in deriving the whole density matrix framework, that dps by dt is equal to 0. They nullify that hypothesis. Okay. Okay. Then, so what is the way of taking care of this limitation? Okay. And the simplest way to include this, let's say, in kind of interactions, etc., is by means of adding a phenomenological damping term. So we will just see in a minute what does it mean, basically. Okay, so let me just hit you with this equation. So I had this equation of motion for the density matrix already. So rho nm dot is equal to minus I by h rho nm, basically. Okay, so to this equation, I added a damping term. You will understand why it is called a damping term as we go forward. But I added this term, which is rho n, gamma nm times rho nm minus rho nm equilibrium. Okay. Now, what is rho nm equilibrium? So rho nm equilibrium is the density matrix which is there when there are no interactions. So I set up this atomic vapor, etc., and there's no light. So I will have this rho nm equilibrium. Okay, and then I switch on light, and I will start having dynamics because of this, and rho nm will change from its equilibrium value, etc. But this damping is such that it always tries to take the system back to its equilibrium value. So if I switch off the light, then you will see that the system will revert back to its equilibrium value with this at this rate, basically gamma mn. Okay, so for example, if this guy is less than 0 or a fixed number, I will show later, etc., then you will see that rho dot can be 0 only when this guy becomes a 0. No, so rho nm will have to become equal to rho nm equilibrium, etc. Okay, so this term just forces the density matrix to revert back to its steady state's value in the absence of interactions, which we will call the equilibrium density matrix. Okay. Okay. And now to get a feel of this term, let's proceed a bit further. So suppose, so just the naive calculation. Okay. So suppose I can, completely strike out this term, let's say. Okay. So if h rho vanishes, for example, okay. So we will also solve it when h rho doesn't vanish, etc. But just for, getting an idea what this term does. So then I'll just get this equation, rho nm dot is equal to minus gamma mn, rho mn minus rho nm equilibrium. And since rho nm equilibrium is a steady state distribution, it is time independent, because, without interaction, the system should be in this rho nm equilibrium density matrix, and it should not change with time. Okay, so then this equation I can easily solve by adding another term in the derivative. So rho nm doesn't change with time, so the derivative is 0. So I just added this within the derivative, and then I can easily solve this equation. And you will see that rho nm at a time t is equal to rho nm equilibrium plus rho nm, whatever was at time t is equal to 0, minus rho nm equilibrium times e to the power minus gamma mn t, basically. Okay. So as long as my time scales I am looking at are larger than this gamma mn, inverse. Okay. So here there should be an inverse. Then we will have the second term going to 0 almost, right? Because gamma mn, so t is a very large number, and e to the power minus a very large number is 0. So the second term doesn't contribute. So I will have rho nm going to rho nm equilibrium. Okay. Okay. So this I showed by assuming that, h rho is 0. But I will also later in this same class, today's class only, show that even if this is finite, etc., that is what
Why
will happen.
why you said that the t very greater than gamma inverse mn?
Yeah. So if this, so that is just to, so what is the question precisely, Shubhankar?
You said that t very greater than gamma mn inverse.
Yeah.
So I don't
So
understand this
what is the
condition.
question? Okay, why am
Actually,
I using that condition?
yes, sir.
So
Why
yeah.
we,
So I am just analyzing this solution. Okay. So I have this solution.
okay?
Okay. And I am just analyzing how will this solution behave asymptotically at very large times.
Okay.
And what do I mean by very large time? So very large time, I mean with respect to this factor, e to the power minus gamma mn t.
Okay.
So my very large times are when t is much, much larger than gamma mn inverse. Okay. And when t is very, very large than this, then you can see that the second term disappears.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Understood.
So that's all. Okay. So in some sense, what does this gamma mn do? No, gamma mn took the excited state density matrix rho nm at t is equal to 0. So, at t is equal to 0, I switched off the perturbation, let's say. Okay. So, and it made it decay. So decay because of this factor e to the power minus gamma mn t. So it made it decay into the steady state density matrix. Okay. And that is why this term is called the damping term. So I took excited state and make it decay to the steady state matrix, basically. Okay. And we will see specific example of this kind of a thing in the context of two level systems. Okay. Questions here?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for T very greater than gamma m in inverse,
Yeah.
low T, say low NMT goes to low NM equilibrium. So does that signify the fact that if a system is left for large enough time, it will always go to the equilibrium?
Yes. As long as there are no interactions to pump it to an excited state.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, that is the premise of adding this term, actually. Okay. That a system left to itself should be in equilibrium, steady state value. Okay. Okay, whatever is the interaction that we have not included in the Hamiltonian, whatever is the interaction that I cannot think of, etc., and whatever is happening, right? The premise is that the system will already have a steady state equilibrium value, which is will not change in time. Okay, and after I switch off these interactions, then the system will have some intrinsic decay time scale, and after those decay time scales, etc., if you observe the system, then you will find the system in its equilibrium steady state. That's the whole idea, which is very, very physical.
So, sir, here we first switch on the interaction and then switch off the interaction. Then the last time we see the behavior, right?
Yeah. Okay. So that's an excellent question. Okay. So here I am doing a bit of cheating just to demonstrate that, this actually leads to a decay. Okay. So we will solve this very precisely. What happens when I will actually switch off the interactions and so on. Okay. But you are right. So here so what I am doing here is I already had the excited state density matrix. Okay. So I already had the interactions, etc. I would have switched them and some passed, and then at t is equal to 0, I switch them off. Okay, that's what I am solving for here.
Okay, sir.
Okay, yeah. In fact, even this solution is a bit of a cheating because I cannot really randomly put this to 0, etc. But we will do this solution in a while. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea that what is the meaning of this gamma mn and why it comes with a minus sign and why it has to have this term rho nm minus rho nm equilibrium.
So what does it mean that this first term, commutator of h rho nm, this equals to 0?
It just means that, yeah, so the natural time evolution is 0 basically. Okay, so we will show, I'll show this explicitly what will happen when I switch off the interactions. Just give me a minute. Okay, more than a minute. It is actually towards the end of the lecture, but I'll solve this explicitly. Okay. Yeah, so the last point of my lecture is to solve this equation explicitly. Okay, but right now I just want you to give a feeling that if this term is 0, then the second term just implies that, after a long time, the system will just relax to its equilibrium value. Okay, and I am doing this in a phenomenological way. Okay, meaning I just, like an axiom, I just introduced this term based on the physical insights that I had. It's almost like, let's say Newton wrote the second law of motion just by observing some things, and intuitively he just wrote down this equation, and that equation stood the test of time. So I've just added this damping term by hand, and I am saying that it will actually physically describes a lot of systems. Okay. Okay. Having said that, I can actually show this very precisely mathematically also. Okay, but the mathematical algebra is quite involved. Okay, and adding it like this as a phenomenological term, seems very intuitive. I can just introduce it in this class in the form that I did, and it still works. Okay, now one comment about how it will come mathematically. Okay, so this is the evolution dynamics equation for the density matrix, right? So IH d rho by dt is H rho basically when I have not included some terms of the Hamiltonian. Okay, so that's the dynamics of the density, if you like. Okay, so it's called density matrix because its diagonal components are just the density. So associated with densities are then currents basically, right? So when I write down any equation involving the time derivative of the density, I can also write down associated current basically, right? So the divergence, so d rho by dt plus divergence of the current is 0, all right? So likewise, here also, if I had to complete this equation, which is the normal equation for the evolution of the density matrix, plus I will write down some terms which are the source of adding the density matrix into the system, some excited states, etc., and a sink term, which will take away some of the excitations in the system basically. Okay, so I'll add the source and sink terms. Okay, and this term is one of the sink terms basically. Okay, So I do not have any, and I am assuming that the system will naturally be in a steady state, etc. So all whatever was the source term, etc., is already inbuilt into the rho nm equilibrium, and this is the sink term, that whatever deviation I cause from the equilibrium steady state value, the system will revert back to its over its some natural time scale. Okay, and this I can derive from a very sophisticated algebra, etc., but which is called kinetic theory of the density matrix. I can send you some references, but eventually we will again end up here. Okay, so that was just a mathematical comment related to this. Okay, now let's proceed basically. So then we will just work with this equation of motion, let's say, and then you can ask me about, what you can say about this rho nm equilibrium. Okay, so I'll say equilibrium is when there are no interactions in H, or H goes to H naught, and corresponding to H I had this rho, the general density matrix, etc., and corresponding to H naught I'll have rho equilibrium. Okay, and of course I showed that another way of to think about this is we have to switch off all the perturbation, the time dependent V, etc., and you wait long enough, T is larger than this gamma inverse, etc., then of course rho goes to rho 0. So rho should go to the rho of H naught, etc., which is just a rho equilibrium. Okay, so right now I'm just saying this in words, but I'll show this explicitly at the end of today's class. Okay, and another thing you should remember is in the eigenbasis of H naught, right? So all the states S basically go to states M, and then rho 0, which was thus the density matrix arising from H naught, etc., will become a diagonal matrix. Because for H naught basis, phi m and phi n are orthogonal, if you remember. Right? So, yeah. So, for example, n, H naught, and m will become a diagonal matrix. Okay, and this you can just show immediately, explicitly, and things like that. Okay, okay. So then, yeah, and a lot of these things also explicitly, actually. Okay, okay. But before I proceed to the, let's say, perturbation theory, etc., let me give you an example of two-level system. So two-level systems are favorite example in optics, let's say first courses, etc., because I do not have to worry about a lot of things. There are only A, B levels, and basically A level is lower, B level is higher. I'll just shine light and I'll do a single photon excitation of frequency omega, let's say angular frequency omega. Okay. Now for this two-level system, I can write down the wave function in a state S of the system in the superposition of phi A and phi B with this coefficient CAS and CBS, etc. Right? And I can define this density matrix, which will be a 2x2 matrix, as rho AA, rho AB, rho BA, and rho BB, which are just from the coefficients of rho Mn. So rho AA will have a CA star, rho AB will have a CB star, rho BA will have a CA star, and rho BB will have a CB star. And I take the ensemble average of this. I take the ensemble average of this, and I'll get the density matrix basically. Okay. Now this is the density matrix. Let's apply it to a physical observable. So for example, if R denotes the position operator of the electron, then the dipole moment operator in this AB basis I can define as mu, which is mu AA, mu AB, mu BA, and mu BB. Right. So I took the R and I calculated its expectation value sandwiched between these states A and B. So mu AB divided by minus E is A, R, B, etc. And I can calculate this matrix elements. I get this, etc. Now, if I actually measure the dipole moment, expectation value of the electronic dipole moment, then I'll get this rho trace of rho mu. And then you calculate the trace, etc. by just calculating the diagonal terms and adding them up. You will get these four terms basically: rho AA, mu AA, rho AB, mu BA, rho BA, mu AB, and rho BB, mu BB. So here I just wanted to show you that the off-diagonal terms of the density matrix, rho AB, etc., can also play a important role in calculating the physical quantity. Okay. And it will become even more dramatic because sometimes you will find that, for specific transitions, if the electronic states are of a specific parity, etc., then this kind of terms will vanish. Okay, so so phi a when r goes to minus r is phi a. So it doesn't change sign, etc., right? And the r operator is odd, let's say in r, right? So the whole integral expectation value becomes an odd integral, etc. And this kind of terms mu a can vanish, etc. Okay. Then this is called, when the states have some specific parity, etc. So this we will do explicitly when we discuss atomic wave functions, etc. After we finish this density matrix part, etc. Okay. And if you consider this, then mu will become just the diagonal terms basically. So rho AB, mu BA, rho BA, mu AB. No. So the off diagonal terms of the density matrix can be very important, particularly in deciding this dipole moment of the electron, etc. And they play a huge role in optics and in nonlinear transport, actually. Okay. And so yeah, so also in optics and more in quantum crystalline materials. So they are a huge topic of research currently, because a lot of new effects are being discovered using this kind of a framework, formalism, etc., including a lot of work that we are also doing in my group. Okay. Okay. But this example was just to highlight one calculation, simple calculation of two-level system, where you see that the off-diagonal terms of the density matrix can play an important role. Yeah. So this I already said that they can be a very interesting research topic, and we already work with this, etc. Okay. Okay. And before I proceed, I wanted to emphasize that this kind of a phenomenological equation is already used in a lot of very interesting research papers, etc., to get nice answers. Okay. In fact, I myself have used some version of this equation to calculate a lot of physical quantities for graphene or capped graphene and things like that, to get its optical properties and things like that. Okay. Okay. So if time permits, I'll show you one of our papers. Uh, Else, let's go to the perturbation theory, basically. Okay. Okay. So till now, what we have done? Till now, we have established that density matrix framework is a nice way to calculate physical observables. And it is slightly nicer because instead of keeping track of two wave functions, I only have to keep track of one density matrix. Okay. And it is nicer because it already includes a lot of other effects that the wave function picture will not include. It is nicer because a lot of other interactions that will not be part of the specific Hamiltonian I can include by this phenomenological damping term. Okay. And with these advantages, we proceed. Okay. And for the density matrix, just like the wave function picture. So in the wave function picture, we found that the excited state wave function I can write as a linear combination of all of the ground state times some probability amplitude of being in that ground state. And then we solved the equation for C's. I got a dynamical equation for C's, which was like the Schrodinger equation. And then I used that equation to build a perturbation series in C's, right? And using that C's, I found the perturbation series in the observables. Okay. So we'll follow roughly the same approach here, etc. Except that now I have the density matrix, and which already has a equation of very nice equation of motion, to which I have added the phenomenological damping term. Okay. Now I can follow the same approach as I did in the wave function picture, and I can do perturbation theory. So for example, I can, start by substituting rho zero. So rho zero is, let's say, the equilibrium solution, etc., on the right hand side here. And here I can start getting the first order correction, rho one. Okay. And once I have rho one, I can similarly do, rho one on the right hand side and calculate rho two. Okay. And I can keep doing this, etc. And I can get to any order by doing this sort of series by series solution. Okay. And I will quantify what I mean by this more precisely as we go. Okay. Okay. But before we go, so here's some minor algebra. So we will encounter a term of the form H rho, no, the commutator of H with the rho, etc. So then let me remind you that H was combination of H naught and Vt, right? So I can write down this commutator as H naught rho commutator plus V rho commutator. Okay. And now H naught rho commutator is nice because H naught, I already know how it will behave in the NM basis, etc. So let me write down this expansion of this. So the product of H naught and rho, I can write as H naught n nu rho nu m. So the nmth element, and sum over nu is implied. And the other term of the commutator minus rho H naught will become rho n nu H naught nu m. So remember this is nm. So nu is the middle index dummy, which is summed over etc. Okay. And remember that H naught, when sandwiched between n and m, is nothing but H naught acting on m, which will give out em, and then n and m, which is just em times delta nm. Okay. So H naught n nu is nothing but en delta n nu, and similarly here H naught nu m is nothing but E nu times delta nu m. So these delta functions, Dirac delta functions, allow me to do this sum. And if I do this sum, then the sum is only finite when nu is n. So I am left with En. Here, this sum is only finite when nu is m. So I am left with the Em. So En minus Em. And surprisingly, this becomes n. And this also becomes m. So rho nm. And here also I have a rho nm. So rho nm I can take outside. So H rho times rho commutator will just give me this kind of a term. Okay. And if I just define what is called a transition frequency, because this kind of terms will keep appearing, so let me just define a shorthand for this. So omega nm is En minus Em by H, which is just showing that I start from m state and go to n state, etc. So that's the difference in energy divided by H. So the transition frequency. Then I can just write this equation of motion in a slightly modified form. So rho nm dot is minus I. So remember it was minus I by H. So H is now absorbed in this definition of omega nm. So I'm just left with omega nm times rho nm minus I by H, V times rho, the second term coming from the interactions, etc., minus this damping term. Okay. So this is the form that I will use to do perturbation theory, basically. Okay. Okay. So now let's do a formal way of doing perturbation theory, etc. So just to keep things mathematically tight and exact, etc., I'll use a trick. Okay. So let me write V as lambda V. Okay. And there's a reason I do it. I'll not compromise on any mathematical rigor by doing this. In fact, I'll make things more rigorous actually. Okay. But there's still a trick, mathematical trick. So lambda V. Okay. And the advantage is that lambda is equal to 0 will represent no interaction state, and lambda is equal to 1 will represent the actual physical situation in which the full interaction potential is in place. Okay. Okay. So then we are looking for a solution of this particular form, basically. So this is the answers. Okay. So we will look for this. So that we are guessing this will be the form of the solution. And this guess we will put in the original equation. And then if the original equation is satisfied in some conditions, then the answers works. No? This is how we do most often physics, basically, right? So we start with a guess solution and then we substitute in the original equation. If everything works, then good. The answers was correct, meaning I'll get the conditions in which the answers works, etc. And that is the solution. Okay. Exactly same thing we'll do here. So let me write this rho nm as an expansion in this lambda square. And you'll see in a minute why this is needed. So rho nm 0, let's say 0th order in lambda, first order in lambda, lambda rho nm 1, plus second order in lambda, plus third order in lambda, and higher orders, etc. Okay. So this was equation 1, the equation of motion for the density matrix. The expansion of rho nm is equation 2. And then of course this is answers equation 2. So equation 2 should be a solution of 1 for any value of lambda, right? So arbitrary value of lambda, it should work. And lambda is equal to 1 also it should work, lambda is equal to 0 also it should work, and in between values also it should work, because v I can always multiply by an arbitrary number, etc. Okay. Okay, then the idea is the following. Okay, since rho nm1 by itself will not have any powers of lambda, etc. If I put it this solution in the left hand side and the right hand side, then to all orders I should be able to match the powers of lambda. Okay. So for each order of lambda, the left hand and right hand side should match. Okay. So this is like, I'm having a lot of terms in a series, and to each order of some variable, let's say x, or in this case lambda, etc., the left hand side and the right hand side should match, because I want the solution to be exact for each and every value of that parameter lambda. Okay. Okay. With that idea, if you substitute 2 in number 1, let's say, then you will start getting very nice equations like this. So order lambda 0. So 0th order in lambda, you will get this equation that rho nm 0, rho nm dot 0th order is minus I omega nm rho 0 minus this damping factor rho nm 0 minus rho nm equilibrium. So this I'll call equation 3. Then to first order, I'll start getting this kind of an equation. Rho nm1 is equal to I omega nm plus gamma nm rho 1 minus I h inverse. Yeah. So minus I by h bar times this v rho 0. Okay. And why v rho 0? Because lambda 1 already had a power of lambda. Lambda 1 already had a power of lambda. And v had a power of lambda. So if I want to match powers of lambda, then I should have a rho 0. So 1 power down. Okay. And this is what I meant when I said that, on the right hand side, I will start replacing rows by a lower order rows basically. Okay. So I did slight cheating. So here I will not replace. The only place I have to replace by a lower order is with this v row, so that I match the powers of lambda. Okay. And so once you understand this, now you are in business. So you can do lambda square. So rho nm dot 2 is I omega nm plus gamma nm rho 2 minus I h inverse v rho 1. No? And this commutator I'll calculate, and I'll take the nmth value. Okay. And similarly, if I continue till order, let's say lambda n, then I'll get rho nm of order n correction is equal to this term times rho n minus I h inverse v rho of n minus 1 times nm, etc. Okay. And these equations now can be integrated directly because the first two terms, so first term here, so the left hand side and the first term on the right hand side form a homogeneous equation. Homogeneous equations we already know how to solve, first order homogeneous equations, etc. Okay. And the second term, which is time dependent term, etc., but that forms the inhomogeneous part, but which is exactly known, right? So I can integrate this. I can write down this in terms of the homogeneous solution, etc., and I can exactly integrate the inhomogeneous part. Okay. And that's the solution basically. Okay. Okay. Now let's come back to what we were doing earlier, etc. That what happens when there are no interactions, right? So if v was 0, etc., then the 0th order term is like so equation 3 is like the time evolution in the absence of any perturbation. If there are no perturbation, etc., then the density matrix will reduce to rho 0, and rho 0 will have this kind of a evolution. So it may start from some rho arbitrary at time t is equal to 0, but at finite time it will evolve like this basically. Okay. And the cheating I had done earlier was that I had put this term to 0. No. So I had put the whole of h rho to 0. Okay. So the whole of h rho commutator cannot go to 0, because I'll always have this term, because h naught and rho naught will always commute, and okay, h naught and rho naught will give me this kind of a term, let's say, to start with. Okay. So just to be careful. Okay. And then below we will solve this equation 3 also explicitly. But before that, let's see how I solve equation 4, or a general equation like this basically. Okay. So rho nm0 is we will explicitly show this, that it will turn out to be the steady state solution or rho nm equilibrium. Okay. And I'll also argue that rho nm equilibrium is 0 for n not equal to m, meaning in the steady state, without light matter interaction, I will have no coherent superposition of states, basically. Okay. So the atomic collisions will be, will cause enough fuzziness so that all coherent superpositions sort of die out, etc. Okay. And the implication of this last statement is that rho equilibrium is a diagonal matrix, okay, which is sort of known because of uh, some other physics that we have not brought in right now, actually. Okay. So it can be known because of quantum statistics, or it can be known because, I know it is in thermal equilibrium, etc., and it is a canonical equilibrium, so it will have this property, that property, etc. So that I have not brought in, but rho equilibrium I will have other means of calculating. Okay. Okay. So then let's go ahead and solve this equation, equation 4, the first order equation, etc. And the solution to all orders will follow exactly same technique. Okay. So rho nm1 is, yeah, no, please. Yeah, rho nm1 is given by this equation, I omega nm plus gamma nm rho 1 minus ih, this term with a nm here. Okay. Now, of course, so this will have a homogeneous solution. So if you solve this homogeneous solution, etc., you will find that it will look like this. Okay. Okay. Or let's say, I do not even know the solution, but let's just, do a change of variable from rho nm to snm, etc., where I have defined that rho nm1 is snm1 times this e to the power I omega n minus gamma nm t. And the whole reason I am doing this is, if I do rho dot, you will find that this term will bring me a derivative which is like this, and the first order, this term will cancel out, actually. Okay. So let's just see that explicitly. So you do a rho dot using this equation. So I do derivative by parts. So I bring down this term. So I omega nm plus gamma nm, actually. So it is written wrongly here, should be nm. And then I'll be left with this term, which is just rho nm1 plus I'll have the derivative of this snm dot times e to the power I omega nm plus gamma nm rt, or so on. Okay. Now this, if I substitute in this equation, I will immediately see that the first term and this term cancel out. So I'm just left with this term and the last term, actually. Okay. So I just send the exponential part of this term to the right hand side, and I'll immediately end up with this particular equation, which is equation 7. So snm1 dot is minus I by h v rho nm times this factor which I had used to define this snm. So e to the power I omega nm plus gamma nm times t. Okay. Okay. So once you have this equation, then you are in business. I know Vt, I know rho 0. And this factor is well defined, so I can just integrate this equation over time. So minus infinity to t dt prime integral of Vt prime times e to the power I omega nm plus gamma nm times t prime, and that's the solution. Okay. So this is the solution for snm1, and I transform it back to rho nm1, and you will get the same thing, etc., except that now I'll have to add a term with a minus t, and that just becomes as this factor e to the power I omega nm plus gamma nm t prime minus t. Okay. So that's your perturbative way of solution. Okay. And now that I have rho nm1, I can go back and do the same trick for the previous equation, and I can solve the second order term, and I can keep doing this, etc., order by order. I can build this whole series. Okay. Okay. Questions here. Let me stop for questions here. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So the perturbation series is then clear, basically. Okay. Okay. Then let me go back to my promise and show you the exact solution of the first equation, rho 0. Okay. So the equation 3 is now what I'll solve. Okay. Okay. So instead of solving equation 3, let me do slight trick. So let me define this as a new variable, rho nm minus rho nm equilibrium. Okay. One reason is that rho nm equilibrium I know will be time independent. It is already there. So I do a d by dt of rho nm equilibrium on the right hand side. That term is 0, so not contribute anything. The second term also I'll write as a rho 0 minus rho nm equilibrium. And because of that, I'll get an extra term plus I omega nm rho equilibrium. Okay. And if I do this, then this whole term just becomes this. Okay, so I should have written the okay. So then it just becomes the same equation as this kind, except that now I have a rho 0 minus rho equilibrium nm t is equal to minus infinity to t dt prime. Instead of this term on the right hand side, I'll be just left with the plus I omega nm rho equilibrium term, which is precisely here. So plus I omega nm rho nm equilibrium term. Yeah, so this should be plus sign. Okay, so it should be a plus sign times this precise factor. Okay, okay. And now I can integrate this equation exactly, because I omega nm rho equilibrium is independent of time. So the only time dependence is here. So if I do that, then this I can integrate and so the t dependence has come out. Let's say here t prime I will integrate etc. And t prime, if I integrate, I get this term in the denominator times e to the power minus I omega nm plus gamma nm minus infinity, which is 0. What am I doing? Yeah, okay. So okay, so if you integrate this carefully, so I think I have done some mistakes here, etc. But if you do this integration carefully, etc., you can show that again the same thing, etc. That if rho nm is much larger than rho nmt is much larger than 1, then rho 0 has to go to rho equilibrium. Okay, and since I know rho equilibrium from some other physics, then rho 0 I know, rho 0 I know, rho 1, rho 2, rho 3, I'll build on this calculation. And once I have the density matrix, then I can calculate any physical observables to whatever order I want, basically. Okay. And that's roughly the summary of today's lecture, okay, with some goof up here, which I will correct when I upload these notes. Okay. So questions?
So can you explain the equation number 4 again?
Equation number of 4. Yeah.
This. How do we get this from 3?
Okay, so no, so I am not getting this from 3. Okay, so be careful. Okay, so I am getting this from equation number 1 and equation number 2.
Okay.
In fact, the whole series I will get from these equations. Okay, okay. So let's put 2 in equation 1.
Okay.
Right. So on the left hand side, I'll start getting rho dot 0 plus lambda rho nm1 dot plus lambda square rho nm2 dot. Okay, so I'll get a series in lambda on the left hand side. On the right hand side also, I'll start getting a series in lambda.
Yes.
Right. So rho nm, for example, I'll get a same series, rho nm0 plus lambda rho nm1 plus lambda square rho nm2. Okay. Okay. That is number 1. And here I will start getting, so I by h v rho. So here I'll start getting a series which will start looking like, so since v had a lambda, see v has a lambda, right? So the rho 0 term will start coming with a lambda. Rho 1 term will come with a lambda square. Rho 2 term will come with a lambda cube, right? Because this term is just v rho minus rho v. So the lambda which comes from v will always be there.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Okay. If you understand that, then we are done basically. Okay. So then we just compare term by term. So 0th order in lambda, what will I have? So on the left hand side, I'll have a rho nm0 dot. On the right hand side, I'll have this term with a rho dot. then this term
Then
will be
compare the
minimum
coefficient.
lambda. So lambda 0, no term from here. And lambda 0, I'll have this term again, which will be rho nm 0 minus rho equilibrium. So that is my first equation.
Basically, we compare the coefficient of lambda.
We are comparing the coefficients of lambda, yes. Because I have two power series, one power series in lambda on the left, one power series in lambda on the right. And of course, when I am equating two power series, etc., then, the things will be valid if each of the terms is 0. Each of the terms are identical, let's say, no? Okay. So effectively, if I take the left-hand side to the right-hand side, then I will have some term times lambda to the power 0 plus some term lambda to the power 1 plus some term lambda to the power 2, etc. No? And this whole series has to add up to 0. This will add up to 0 if each power of lambda add up to 0. And that's what I'm doing. So the coefficient of lambda to the power 0 is first equation, coefficient of lambda to the power 1 will give me a second equation, and so on. And lambda 0 cannot have a power of lambda. So the V term is not there in the first equation. Okay. And rho equilibrium also has lambda to the power 0. So the rho equilibrium only appears in the first term, and so on. Okay. So just try out this exercise. It will easily come actually. In fact, this is how you do perturbation theory in the wave function picture also. Except that instead of the density matrix equation, I will write down the equation, Schrodinger equation for the wave function. Precisely the same thing. In fact, there is a general framework of doing perturbation theory. This power series expansion in lambda.
You go to the page number 5 where you write the density operator.
Density operator. Okay. So you tell me where to stop. Okay.
Page number 5.
Okay. So 6 here.
Here.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
here you write the density operator in the matrix form.
Yeah, it is a matrix. Yeah. So I wanted to explicitly write for a 2x2 system. Yeah.
Okay. I just clarify this thing. Okay.
Yeah. So this is an example for a 2-level system. Okay. This is just to show that if I had a 3-level system, I'll have a 3x3 density matrix. If I had an n-level system, I'll have an n×n density matrix.
Also, sir, there is a absorption of photon, right? And
So forget absorption. This is just to show you 2-level picture basically. Yeah. So we are not doing any of this absorption dynamics here. Not yet.
so what is this picture? I mean, I don't understand.
So picture is just, so forget that in the middle something is happening. I just have a level and a B level basically. That's it. Yeah. And later we will go to absorption, etc. So this picture was a bit premature, let's say. So yeah, so you remove whatever is in the middle. So I just have a 2-level system, A and B. That's this picture for this section. And I have done no optical absorption because I have not specified V till now, here at least in this lecture, right? I have just shown you how to do a general calculation of the density matrix expansion. And then next class, we will do this V expansion. I mean, we'll write V for light matter interaction and do explicit calculations in this picture. So here I just wanted to show for a 2-level system, the density matrix will have this form. Then I constructed a observable, the dipole moment, right, which is r cap expectation value. R is the position operator, not a position unit vector, position operator. And for the position operator, related to that, I can define a dipole operator, which is minus E times r cap. And I am taking the expectation value of that by defining A r cap B times minus B, and those coefficients are here in this mu matrix basically. And then I just showed that if I take an expectation value, then it will appear like this, where the off diagonal terms of the density matrix also play an important role. That's all. Nothing else. Questions? Okay, but this gives you a strong tool in a sense that now I have a very systematic way of calculating order by order, etc., and I can do this calculation sort of exactly. So this is a perturbative way of calculating things. There are some systems in which I can do better calculations. I can sum up the whole series analytically, etc., within some approximations, etc. So we will maybe take some examples from that, etc. But yeah, dominantly this is what you will find in the literature, basically. Yeah. And this is how you will do perturbation series for any sort of coupled differential equations, basically. Okay. So here I had the equation of motion for the density matrix, which is like coupled equations for each matrix element. So any set of coupled equation, classical quantum, if I have to do a perturbation theory, this is roughly the technique. So the interaction term I will write as lambda v, and then I'll expand both sides in powers of lambda, and then try to match the powers of lambda. I mean, I have to send each power of lambda, each coefficient of each power of lambda to 0. That will give me this set of equations. So I wrote it for a density matrix. You can write this for a wave function. You can write it for classical systems also, where you want to solve perturbatively some quantities around some fixed points or something.